When an Apache warrior came begging for help, I never thought I'd become the mother he needed. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other day. The sun was blazing, the world felt alive with laughter and chatter, but something stirred in my heart. A feeling. A warning. Then he appeared. His clothes were torn, and his eyes shone like polished obsidian. He stumbled into our quiet town, looking more like a ghost than a man. The crowd whispered, tightening around him like a noose. My pulse quickened. I felt it in my bones, the weight of despair. I watched as he fell to his knees, trembling hands on the dusty ground, begging for help in a way that pierces the soul. My heart raced. I knew nothing about him. He was a warrior. An Apache. His presence sparked both curiosity and fear. The air felt heavy, charged with uncertainty. I could see it in the eyes of the onlookers, questions, judgments, disgust. I turned to my best friend, Liz, but her face was pale. I got the sense that this was no ordinary moment. There was a storm brewing, and I was smack in the middle of it. The locals were restless. They murmured about legends and curses. They spoke of battles and unseen spirits. I wanted to close my ears, but the words wrapped around me, squeezing tighter. What did they know? I felt drawn to him, caught between the thrill of danger and the pull of compassion that he looked up, catching my gaze. Time seemed to halt. His pain was palpable, raw, almost tangible. I could see the ghosts haunting him. The trust. The desperation. I felt a lump in my throat. How could I turn away? What if I was the only one who could help? I took a step forward, then another. The ground felt unsteady beneath my feet. The gasps from the crowd echoed in my mind. What are you doing? Liz whispered, fear lacing her voice. I ignored her. I couldn't let him suffer alone. My hand reached for him, trembling, but he recoiled, eyes wide with more than just fear. Oh, the silence that hung between us was thick enough to drown in. I could hear my heart pounding. Each beat matched the rhythm of that moment. Help, he murmured, the word heavy with meaning. In that one syllable, I felt the world shift. It was a desperate cry that turned my insides, making me feel less like an outsider and more like a part of something bigger. Something unimaginable. I stared into his eyes, hoping to convey understanding, compassion. But was I ready for what lay ahead? Could I unravel the truths he carried? My mind whirled. I wanted to ask a million questions. Where did he come from? What danger chased him? But just then, the ground shook. A low rumble echoed through the town. The whispers transformed into screams. I stepped back, gripping my chest. What's happening? I gasped. The warrior stood, eyes narrowed, muscles tense, scanning the horizon. Something unseen loomed. He was no longer just a man begging for help, he was a conduit of chaos, a storm about to unleash fury. The thrill of fear surged within me. I needed to know more. What did he bring with him? And why did that foreboding feeling tell me that my life would never be the same? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The earth settled, though tension lingered in the air like an ominous cloud. I could feel it pressing against my chest. The warrior turned abruptly, scanning the landscape, his breathing heavy and deliberate. A shiver raced down my spine. I didn't need to be told that danger loomed just beyond our sight. Around us, the townspeople shifted uneasily, their whispers a cacophony of suspicion and dread. Get away from him. Someone shouted. He's cursed. Another voice chimed in with chilling certainty, he brings bad omens. My heart ached at their words, at the way they hurled accusations like stones, eager to drive him away, but it was too late for me. As the whispers swirled around us, all I could see was him, the way his determination shifted as he weighed his next move. All I could feel was the way my heart ached for him, tangled in an unexpected connection that was both frightening and profoundly beautiful. Please, I called out, raising my hand slowly, as if reaching for light in darkness. We need to listen. My voice trembled through the shouts, but I held my ground. Liz grabbed my arm, urgency in her grip. What are you doing? You don't know what this man is capable of. But I did know, didn't I? I could feel the weight of his pain, the burden he carried. He took a hesitant step toward me. For a beat, the crowd was silent. I could see the flicker of hope in his eyes, a fragile flame fighting against the strong winds of judgment surrounding us. It was then I realized, it wasn't just his story anymore, but ours. Our lives were entwined in that moment, in that shared space of unspoken fears and hesitations. As if sensing my thoughts, he lowered his voice but filled it with urgency. They are coming for me. The weight of those words crashed over me, sending ice through my veins. Who were they? What had he done to be hunted so? Before I could ask, a piercing cry erupted from the crowd. A woman stumbled forward, cradling a child in her arms, blood smeared across the little faces. My baby! She wailed. He needs help. In a split second, everything shifted. As chaos rose, the onlookers dispersed, pouring their energy into the new crisis, outrage and fear temporarily forgotten. Stay here. I shouted to the warrior, though my feet moved before I could think. I pushed into the fray, heart racing. The sight of the innocent child devoured all lingering doubts as I knelt before the distraught mother. I felt the heat of her panic along with the urgency of the situation. What happened? The river. He fell. I couldn't reach him in time. Her voice broke, panic drenching her words. I turned my gaze to the warrior, finding him watching intently, a kind of restrained power in his posture. Perhaps he could help, perhaps he was more than just a man who wandered into our lives. Do you need? My voice was cut off as he stepped closer, casting a shadow of calm over the chaos. The moment our eyes met, a strange understanding sparked. Without words, I realized he had known loss, he had faced fury before, and perhaps, somehow, he could bring order to this storm. There's still time, he said, his voice steady and sure, a beacon amid the uncertainty. We can help. The way he moved seamlessly into action, commanding attention without a single shout, was mesmerizing. All eyes were on him now, the local hostility warping into cautious curiosity. I admired him, he was daring to be vulnerable just as much as I was. Follow me. He called out, sprinting toward the river's edge just beyond the crowd. The mother's eyes filled with nervous hope, and I grasped her hand tightly, willing her to believe in this warrior. A murmur began to build, some folks wary, some drawn to him, seeking redemption. We darted across the grassy field. As we approached the rushing water, I felt alive with purpose. Beyond the chaos, something deep down whispered that we were meant to be here together in this moment. The looming shadows felt closer than ever, yet hope breathed life into the fear. When we reached the river, the level of the water astonished me. It raged with a strength that threatened to consume anything in its path. I turned back, gazing at the warrior, ready to ask him what to do next, but he was staring at the water with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. Someone help me. I called again, eyes searching for anyone ready to heed the desperate call. Suddenly, a sound burst forth, not from the river, but beyond it. A low, malevolent growl rippled through the air. I felt icy dread curl within me. He turned, a ghost of his former self, now transformed by the weight of his past. The townspeople were slowly closing in, unsure, helpless. I felt Liz grip my arm tighter, heart racing against mine. What do we do? She gasped, The echoes of the growl morphed around us, the fear rising once more as we all understood, something much darker than we imagined had indeed followed him here. Anxiety loomed over our heads like an ominous cloud, threatening to rain down terror upon us all. "That I will protect you," the warrior said fiercely, eyes alight with fire and conviction. My breath caught. Was he speaking to me? To all of us? There was no time for clarity amidst the growing storm. I knew that our journey was just beginning, a bumpy road drenched in uncertainty, yet somehow paved with the possibility of unexpected alliances. But who were we standing against? What lay ahead as the shadows rapidly closed in, leaving us with haunting questions? In that moment, one truth became clear: whatever was out there had already changed us forever, setting us on a path that would carve deep into our destinies. And as the growl grew louder, I grasped the warrior's arm, ready to face the tempest together, yet terrified of the darkness that awaited. The growl reverberated through the air, sending tremors through the crowd. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, a prelude to whatever nightmare waited beyond the river's edge. I kept my grip on the warrior's arm, the warmth of his skin grounding me amid the swelling confusion and fear. I could sense the shift in him, an awakening of primal instincts honed through hardship. "Stay close to me," he murmured, and I could feel the strength in his voice even as fear gnawed at him. The townspeople began to murmur, a symphony of anxiety swelling with each moment the beast remained hidden. It was strange how, in the midst of terror, we still clung to solidarity, whispers turning into prayers shared among strangers. "What is it?" came Liz's urgent question, her voice trembling. "What are we facing? Something we cannot face alone," he replied, his eyes fixed on the darkening woods beyond the river where the growl had originated. "It has come for me." The implication of those words sent a chill racing down my spine. This was no random threat, it was deeply personal, yet it made no sense. How could a solitary warrior summon such a force of darkness? I glanced at the mother cradling her child nearby. She was trembling, eyes wide with a fraught hope that flickered in the child's tiny face. "We can't just stand here," I breathed, the world narrowing to the urgency of that moment. "He needs us. The baby needs us." Suddenly, a figure darted from the shadows, a sleek, dark creature that bolted toward the river with the ferocity of a storm. The child's mother gasped, pointing frantically. I barely had time to register the being, its long limbs and piercing eyes before it lunged toward the water, a shimmer of sleek fur catching the light. No. The warrior growled, stepping forward, ready to confront it, but before he could react, another figure emerged, a second creature. Taller, more monstrous, with jagged teeth that gleamed, a fearsome reminder of the unyielding power we faced. The crowd gasped collectively, dread pooling into an invisible weight above us. "Run!" Liz shouted, pulling me to move. But I remained rooted, transfixed by the confrontation unfurling before me. The warrior's resolve shone brighter, an unyielding force as he squared his shoulders, ready to defend us all. "Stay behind me," he commanded fiercely, every ounce of authority in his voice demanding compliance. The townspeople hesitated, the air thick with tension. This was a moment where we were to choose between fear and courage. As the creature snarled, its breath hot and rancid, I caught a momentary glimpse of the terror in its eyes. It was not pure instinct that drove it, there was something desperate, something almost familiar about its resolve. "He's not just a hunter," I whispered, suddenly understanding. "He's something more, like USA Guardian." The warrior lowered his stance, mirroring the creature, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped us all. I saw in his eyes the pain of someone who understood the weight of loss. Both of them were beasts in their own right, battling their own darkness, using aggression to mask the scars that ran deeper than any claw or fang. And if this guardian shouldn't be here? I didn't realize I had spoken aloud until I saw the warrior's ferocious gaze swing toward me. What happens if it comes for the baby instead? A flicker of conflict adorned his features, an understanding passed between us that echoed louder than our fears. As the creatures growled, circling in a deadly dance, I realized we were not simply in danger, we were part of something much larger, a confrontation of destinies intertwined with struggles and expectations. Just as the tension reached its peak, a third beast broke through the foliage, its howl rising like a screeching scream, punctuating the air with alien fury. The crowd recoiled, cries of terror erupting around me. The battlefield fostered divided loyalties, fear demanding flight while hope wrestled with the stark reality of our situation, together. The warrior roared, his voice becoming an anchor amid the chaos, filled with a defiance that ignited something within me. "We can face this," everything shattered into motion. In unison, the townspeople rallied around, momentarily forgetting their divisions, the community born from fear and outrage transformed into a shared strength. Liz grasped my shoulder tightly, eyes wide with newfound bravery that I could feel the electric energy in the air, it crackled against my skin. As I glanced at the warrior, determination blazed in his eyes. "We will protect our own," he declared, stepping forward. The creatures circled, snarling and growling, their hostility palpable. I felt my heart thud in my chest as realization struck me like a thunderbolt. It was not just the town or the family we fought for. It was our very existence, a litany of stories woven through hardship and resolve, a covenant formed out of upheaval that I in that moment, a spark ignite Dan understanding that by facing the darkness together, I could become the mother he needed, just as he had unwittingly become my protector. But before we could fully unfurl our resolve, a voice rose out from the shadows where we had both ventured too close to danger. "Stop!" It rang out, echoing across the chaos. The world paused. All eyes turned to the figure materializing from the trees. That it was a woman, striking yet unfamiliar, her presence stealing the storm's thunder. Fear surged within me again, creeping back in with a vengeance as her intentions loomed unspoken. "He is not yours to protect," she warned, her gaze narrowing on the warrior, recognition flashing in her eyes, infused with something sinister, and the air thickened with uncertainty, a long-buried truth ready to unravel before our very eyes, sending a wave of dread crashing over me. What past was entwined with this woman, and how would it change everything? The cliffhanger of my reality teetered into a chasm of unknowns, leaving us to wonder who could be the true threat and who might just emerge as the savior that we needed most. The tension in the air was suffocating as the woman stepped closer, her presence oddly commanding. Her dark hair fluttered wildly around her face, a stark contrast to her torch-like intensity. My heartbeat quickened, fueling a new wave of fear as she locked eyes with the warrior. There was a history there, tangled and raw, a shared intimacy that sent shivers down my spine. "Why have you come back?" she demanded, her voice a delicate thread woven with accusation. The warrior held his ground, every muscle in his body taut, as though he were about to spring into action. The creatures were momentarily distracted, their snarls replaced with confused growls. As the crowd fell into an uneasy silence, even the wind seemed hesitant to disturb the fragile balance hanging between us. "Enough of this," he growled, an edge of desperation creeping into his tone. "You know what's at stake, Elora. They need us, Elora." The name tasted of danger, hinting at buried conflict and a lineage steeped in both sorrow and power. I instinctively took a step closer to the warrior, emboldened by his presence but anxious about what those two might uncover. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to grasp the threads of this inexplicable connection. "What has this to do with the town?" Gilira's eyes flickered to me, her expression softening for a fraction of a second, before hardening again. "You shouldn't have gotten involved in this battle," she replied, her tone asserting that my involvement was a complicating factor. "It's not just beasts we are up against." She turned her gaze back to the warrior, a mixture of anger and something deeper shadowing her features. "You're placing everyone in danger." That I felt the heat of the crowd's eyes on me, a collective uncertainty swirling through the group. I knew they were grappling with the same question I was. Who was she, and why did her words carry such gravitas? I looked to Liz, who stood frozen by my side, her hand pressed against her mouth as if trying to quell an impending scream. "What do you mean?" I pressed again, urgency intertwining with my words. I sought clarity as the shadows lengthened around us, desperate to understand the stakes unfolding. "Why are we in danger?" The beasts kept their distance, sensing the shift in our focus. It was as though they were waiting for the fatal moment to strike, the thick tension painted across their primal faces. I could feel the warrior's tension vibrating through my arm where he held me, an unyielding reminder of the love and protection coursing through him for everyone we fought for. The darkness that follows me doesn't just hunt, Elora spoke, her voice trembling with a resurgence of restraint. It seeks to reclaim what was lost, and it'll destroy everyone who stands in its way, including him. She gestured at the warrior, her words slicing through my resolve with the precision of a blade. Something twisted in my chest, an inexplicable ache forming as I struggled to grasp the weight of her claim. But he's not the enemy. I gasped, almost pleadingly. He's fighting to protect us, but at what cost? Elora challenged, stepping closer, her intensity contagious even as dread pooled in my stomach. He carries the curse of our lineage. He is bound to a fate that will only bring ruin to those he loves. She turned, her face a mask of frustration, desperation bleeding through the cracks of her tough exterior. I cannot let this happen again. That a low growl emanated from the nearest beast, a reminder that time was slipping through our fingers like sand. None of us could afford to linger on history when survival was the only event that mattered right now, but the tension was palpable, the question hanging over us like an impending storm. The warrior clenched his jaw, his eyes burned with a fierce determination. I have made my choice. My heart is not a burden, Elora, it grants me strength. This town deserves a chance, I will not abandon it. The resolve in his voice reverberated like a battle cry, sparking a flicker of hope that ignited our hearts. A brief silence fell, and for one precious moment, everything stood still. I grasped his arm tighter, allowing the connection between us to fortify his spirit, hoping he would feel the weight of all our hopes nestled therein. The beast growled louder, snapping us back into reality. The danger was closing in, just as I began formulating a plan. The earth beneath us trembled, a vibration resonating through the ground that sent a cascade of fear through the crowd. We have to be more than mere spectators, I shouted, recognition dawning on me. We stand together, a community. If we fight united, then we can push back this darkness. Someone from the crowd began to chant, a low melody building fervently until it echoed against the fear cascading through the air. Others joined, voices entwining, weaving together a tapestry of defiance against our adversaries. As our voices rose, I could feel the power of hope blossoming, filling the space that fear once owned. Perhaps we weren't wholly helpless after all. Suddenly, the beasts shifted, almost as if our burgeoning strength unsettled their dark intent, and their snarls shifted to something akin to confusion. Elira's gaze darted between us, surprise flickering across her features, but her expression quickly settled, morphing into something closer to empathy. You can't trust him, she shouted, cutting through the chant. This conflict is only the beginning, there is a greater darkness within him, and with that, the unearthly howl unfurled from the woods behind the creatures, calling forth a new terror. A fourth creature emerged, far more massive. The earth shuddered beneath its weight. It's time, Elora hissed, her power palpable. You must recognize the danger before it consumes you all. The crowd fell into frantic whispers, uncertainty tearing through our unity. I stood my ground, heart racing, resolute yet unsure of how the warrior would respond. He was my protector, yes, but the truths swirling around us threatened to unveil everything we thought we knew. Will you fight for them? Elora asked him, a quiet urgency lacing her words. Or do you seek to repeat the same cycle of destruction? And that question hung heavily in the air, a dagger poised to cut through our fragile alliance, leaving everything vulnerable and exposed as we found ourselves converging at the precipice of a battle against forces we couldn't yet comprehend. The night was young, and the worst was yet to be revealed, leaving me at the edge of an emotional abyss with fear and hope entwined, ready to plunge deeper into the pulse of darkness that beckoned us forward. The beast loomed over us, its breath rancid and heavy, stirring the air like a foul omen. I could see the muscles rippling beneath its scarred hide, a monstrous reminder of the fight that was upon us. As panic began to ripple through the crowd, echoing in their wide eyes, I could feel the clenching of my stomach, an indigestible mixture of fear and determination. Stay focused, the warrior commanded, his voice a clarion call cutting through the haze of dread. We cannot falter now. Unity is our only advantage. He stepped in front of me, muscles taut, his presence offering an ember of safety against the encroaching shadows. I watched him, marveling at how he stood defiant in the face of overwhelming odds. Elira's expression morphed, but I couldn't place her thoughts. You don't understand the burden of the past, she pleaded, her anger melting away under a vulnerable flicker of fear. He's haunted by the darkness that's coming. It's not just his lineage, it's a curse that could swallow us all. Enough. I snapped, my voice quaking as I stood between them, fueled by love for the warrior but fueled as well by pity for Elira. You need to decide, Elira. Are you with us or against us? This bickering will not hold the dark forces at bay. We need to decide what we're fighting for, the crowd murmured uncertainly, shifting their weight as doubt clung to them like fog. In that moment, I saw a flicker of connection, the common thread holding us all together. We had survived the worst of ourselves. Perhaps we could survive more. We fight for our homes, for each other, something far greater than ourselves. Elira's breath came in short bursts, her face a kaleidoscope of emotions torn between lingering doubt and reluctant hope. What if it isn't enough? She whispered. The ground trembled again, deepening the rift of urgency between us. The howl from the massive beast shattered my resolve, prompting instinct to rise. I glanced back at the warrior, searching his gaze for an anchor amidst the storm swirling in the air. He gave me a firm nod, igniting a sense of purpose deep within. Together, arm in arm, we all faced the encroaching darkness, chanting a shared resolve. The voices rose again, louder this time, harmonizing a belief that gripped us as tightly as the fear coiling in my chest. As the chorus of unity swelled, a surge of energy coursed through our collective heartbeat. Elira's lips trembled as her fierce demeanor softened, and for the first time, I saw hope dancing in her eyes. Then let us fight. Her voice, once an accusatory whip, now turned gentle, reverberating a newfound allegiance. But you must promise not to let the darkness of our lineage consume you. Together, the warrior affirmed, and I felt the electricity of his promise crackle through the air around us, igniting that thin thread of determination into a raging fire. The monstrous creature advanced, its roaring breath sliced through our chant, forcing us to falter but not to break. We braced for the impact, muscles taut and spirits intertwined. We were a tapestry woven through shared history, anger, and scraps of hope, but as the creature lunged, the earth shifted beneath us, and a blinding figure emerged, the ethereal light of an unseen ally streaking through the shadows. I blinked, identifying the figure as a woman wrapped in a luminescent cloak that shimmered like distant stars. Follow my light. She cried, her voice ringing like bells through the darkness. Emboldened, we moved as one, our feet dispatching doubt as we charged forward. The warrior held me at his side, while Elira stepped alongside us, her spirit ignited, a dark shadow flickering against the luminescence that surrounded us. As we drew closer to the beast, I felt a pulse of power surge from the warrior into my very bones, anchoring me against the tide of fear threatening to topple us. Now! He roared, and everything surged. A clash of bodies and wills ensued, the force of our unity colliding with the raw chaos embodied in the creature. But just when it seemed we had the upper hand, a shriek erupted from deep within the woods, echoing through the hills as more serpentine shadows emerged. It was chaos. Frantic howls echoed while darkness pooled around us, an endless tide of wrath that swelled like the night. The newly arrived figures seemed telegraphed from a nightmare, their eyes aglow with the fire of malice. That we can't hold against this, Elira gasped, a sudden look of devastation collapsing over her. No! I shouted, desperation spilling over. We must hold. We can't let the encroaching oblivion threaten our home. But even my words faltered in the face of the truth. More darkness was pouring forth, and I could see it now, too close, too monstrous. In that moment, I heard her again, the shimmering figure, now casting its light down toward us with fervent intensity. This isn't the end, this is a rebirth. But as the light met shadows, I felt something slip, a rending tether pulling at my heart. Was I yelling, or had the roar of the creatures drowned my voice as they rushed toward us? My grip faltered, and the warrior vanished from my line of sight, lost amidst the chaos. Where are you? I screamed. The shadows congealed around us like a living thing, drawing tighter, choking the light from our very souls. Panic burgeoned as my heart raced in time with the monstrous drum of disaster. Elora reached for me, but her hand slipped away. Stay together. The warrior's voice rang in my mind, but his presence was gone, and all I could feel was the weight of unending darkness pressing against me. In the sudden silence that followed the cacophony, I turned. A blinding flash erupted through the shadows as the mysterious, shimmering figure faltered, its light sputtering, revealing the unmistakable face of a familiar companion wrapped in darkness. No. Not now, Luca. I breathed in heartbreak, realizing he stood between us, the light and dark intertwined, his eyes a haunting mirror of the battle within. The ground quaked beneath my feet as realization dawned, the darkness was twisting him, and there was no hero within the torment, now a revelation that held the power to unravel everything I believed. Choose, he whispered, agony scorching his tone, his voice a harbinger that ripped through the growing dread. Choose to save the one you love or the lives of many. I stood there, frozen, heart hammering against the cage of my ribs as the shadows writhed around Luca. His luminous form was tainted, the light waning in the face of an encroaching darkness that somehow felt sentient, as if it thrummed with an ancient awareness of our fears. Elora's hand fell away from mine, the thin thread of hope between us severing like a frayed rope. I could see it in her eyes, the emotion strangled by despair as she grappled with the enormity of our twisted circumstance. We have to fight, we can't let him fall. She shouted over the chaos, determination burning in her voice like a beacon amidst the suffocating shadows. Each breath felt like an anchor dragging me deeper into a spiraling abyss. Luca. I croaked, desperation slipping through the cracks in my resolve. Fight it. You're stronger than this. His gaze remained locked onto mine, and for a flickering moment, I saw him, the Luca I knew, alive and vibrant. Then the darkness slithered across his face, twisting his features into something grotesque and alien. You have to make a choice. He repeated, voice layered with anguish, the shadows dancing in rhythm with his heart's pain. If you save me, you risk losing them all. The world was unraveling around me, muffled voices collapsing in on themselves, shadows licking at my ankles. Fear gripped me like barbed chains, intent on holding me back. You don't get to make that decision for me. I shouted, anger flaring, leaking into the weighty silence. The beast loomed ever closer, a colossal embodiment of dread, and I could hear the warriors voice their unyielding call to arms splintering the air like a war cry. Yet, as I stood wavering on the precipice of choice, every heartbeat echoed with uncertainty. Could I trust him? Or was the darkness whispering sweet lies? Choose. He yelled again, and behind him, in the arms of the shadows, I could see faces, fragments of our past, families, friends, all caught in a net woven by despair. My spirit fractured as my thoughts collided, the weight of their lives pressed down on me like a tidal wave. Could I abandon Luca, the very essence of who I had fought to protect? What if I turned my back on him, only to find I had done the same to my own heart? Enough. Elora roared, collapsing through the shadows to stand beside me, her presence a flicker of strength amidst the tide of chaos. We can do this together. Please, we can reach him. Together the word hung in the air between us, a fragile thread connecting our hearts as Elora grasped my arm. My breath hitched, an electric current igniting within me, a rush of unity flaring to life. You were not just individuals lost in the fray but allies, bound by the same tether of hope. Luca. I cried again, pushing against the layers of darkness suffocating our bond. I believe in you. I believe in the light within you. Fight. His eyes widened as though he could hear me over the chaos. I took a step forward, my heart thunderous, clawing at the distance between us, the shadows swirling, trying to hold him back. You are not alone. We are here. Fight for us, for your choice to be free. For a heartbeat, the world froze, me soul clenching with the weight of hope and despair entwined. In that stark moment of longing, I saw a glimmer of something, a flicker of light reflecting in Luca's anguished expression, and my voice trembled through the tension. Choose love. I watched, breathless, as the shadows seemed to recoil, hesitating before swallowing him whole. A chaotic spectrum of emotions painted his face, torn between the darkness that held him captive and the light we knew still flickered within. Then, an unearthly howl erupted from deep within the woods, a primal scream resonating with raw power, and for a moment, I thought it might be his choice breaking free, shattering the chains of despair. But then the shadows surged, thick like smoke clinging to his recesses, and I felt my heart plummet. "Choose." Luca answered, voice breaking like glass, and I could feel the pull of darkness tightening its grip around his throat. "Please protect them, no." Elora shrieked, moving to step those final inches toward him. "Don't leave us," but the shadows darkened even further, swallowing the light whole, and suddenly I was too far. The monstrous beast lunged into the fray, a torrent of chaos spilling forth, and I could see what I feared even more than losing Luca, losing ourselves in the face of a collapse, and there came a devastating realization: sometimes saving one truly meant losing all. What lay ahead was veiled in trepidation, each second slipping inch by inch into the void. In that moment, I flashed back to the warrior's words, his reminder crystallizing the possibility of unity, but there was something deeper feeding the darkness. Thinly blinding laughter echoed through the chaos, threading between the shadows, cold and knowing. "Choose or you will lose everyone." The revelation struck me, a dark revelation that wrapped itself around my heart like a noose, and just as I steeled myself for the shadows, for the choice, a heat-piercing scream rang through the air. It was Elora, her scream piercing the darkness like a shard of glass as the enchanted figure flickered against the tide of endurance, revealing the truth I never imagined. That in her eyes, I saw it an unexpected kindness born from despair, a reflection of the emotional upheaval transitioning across her face. It surged inside of me, hopeful yet hoarding whispers of devastation, and as I followed her gaze, the crashing crescendo of light and shadow clashed like thunder, summoning an inevitable force that my body seized. An unfamiliar pulse radiated between us, and suddenly revelations unfurled like petals, suffocating darkness and blinding clarity, all wrapped in one. The light flickered, and then everything snapped, unraveling, shattering into a million pieces as I understood the true choice we were forced to bear. I looked up, and Luca, lost in the throes of shadows, no longer bore my faith. As he stood on the brink of light and dark, I realized I was now the one who had to choose. The moment trembled in the air, charged with dread and impossible choices. The cacophony of laughter and snarls faded into a haunting silence as I stepped forward into a chasm that echoed with desperation, fully aware that I was wading through the abyss of irrevocable fate. "Luca." My voice held a weakness that rang hollow, but my heart still clawed for clarity amidst disarray. His silhouette, already marked by shadows, remained so close yet a million miles away. Elora remained by my side, an unwavering spirit, yet I could feel the thread of her resolve beginning to fray, the fear clawing at her throat, threatening to choke the light from her gaze. "Don't give up," I murmured. "We cannot lose him. He's still there." But doubt hissed like smoke in my mind. What if the shadows had consumed him entirely, leaving only this twisted echo of who he once was? Elora met my gaze, determination wrestling against fear in her deep emerald eyes. "We have to find a way to reach him. We have to show him he's worth saving. That we would choose him despite the risk. We have to find the light within," I finished, more an echo than a solution. I could see the shimmer of hope luminous in her eyes amidst the dark tempest, igniting a flare of courage in the depths of my chest. Just then, the monstrous beast, the embodiment of the very darkness that threatened to swallow us, stirred, its presence reverberating like an earthquake. Shadows twisted and contorted, weaving closer, pressing against us like a tide intent on claiming its due. Taking a deep breath, I focused on Luca, his figure wavering like a mirage. A thought ran through the tapestry of my mind: how did we ever think we could conquer this alone? The answer was brazen: they were right here, we were a part of this battle, and together, we could still win. With renewed conviction, I stepped into the chaos. "Luca!" I bellowed, voice carrying across the storm. "If you are fighting for them, know that we're fighting for you too. You matter. We need you." For a heartbeat, there was silence. The shadows halted their advance, hanging like a heavy fog, and in that fraught moment, I felt the stir of something beneath. Was it the echo of his spirit? I edged closer, willing my voice to echo across that spectral divide. "We choose love. We choose life. You don't have to carry this burden alone." Then I caught a flicker in Luca's gaze, a thread of awareness, pooling like liquid gold amidst a sea of despair. Was it possible he was hearing me? That he felt our yearning, our determination? I took another step forward, desperation blurring the edges of reason. Suddenly, Elora dove through the morass, her breath hitching as if the shadows themselves sought to snatch her back. Luca, hear me. Her voice pierced through my own, electrifying the air with fierce hope. You are not just a flicker of light. You have a family, you have us. Please, choose to fight with us, for us. Remember the warmth of the moments we shared, the laughter, the joy, and then it happened, something shifted. The beast roared back, spitting shadows that overwhelmed us, yet in the storm, I saw sparks, glimmers of light beginning to push against the darkness. A connection was forming, fragile yet potent. Elora, I gasped, reaching for her hand, and she grasped it tightly, our hearts sinking in an unspoken vow of determination to remain steadfast as guardians against the raging tempest. But amid our shared strength, the shadows intensified, reclaiming their hold over reality. I felt a pang of terror as I witnessed an unfamiliar figure emerge from the maelstrom, an ethereal woman adorned with feathers and beadwork, her presence amplifying the darkness while beckoning us closer. Foolish children, she whispered, a cruel smirk twisting her lips, you believe you truly understand the darkness within him? It was birthed from the choices he made long before this moment. Are you prepared to bear the cost of his freedom? My heart received a sudden chill washing over me. No. I cried back, bewilderment mingling with defiance. We will not be swayed. We stood together to face shadows, and we will. Fight to pull him from the brink, then you must confront it, the truth within. Her voice wrapped around me like chains, sliding into the recesses of my mind. Will you risk your lives for someone who had already chosen the darkness long before this battle? Tell me how. I shouted, desperation echoing into the void, unaware that I was laying everything bare before the shadow's gaze. In that instant, she burst forth, the shadows whirring like a storm. You shall see, she hissed, delving into the recesses of Luca's heart, and suddenly the battlefield shifted. Visions materialized, heartbreak wrapped in memory. Luca as a child, radiant and joyful, then morphing into a youth cloaked in darkness, turning away from family, friends, love. The painful choices laid bare. Choose, echoed the specter's voice, echoing through the ruined fragments of Luca's remorse. Literally, I could feel the weight of his mistakes compressing around us, suffocating our resolve. Tears streamed down my face as realization washed over me. The journey we had embarked upon was layered with trials he had already faced but had chosen to lock away. And as I moved deeper into this legacy of pain, the specter cackled lowly, you want to help him? Face that anguish. Will you sacrifice your truth for his redemption? The shadows surged, and I could see Luca now, a reflection of his agony battling the depths of his own despair. Then my heartbeat quickened. I could not waver. We are bound by love, no matter the cost. I gasped, feeling Elira's hand tighten in mine. He can still choose us. He can still choose life, hope, light. At that moment, the shadows split, and I saw it, Luca's eyes shimmering with a choice burning within, drowning out darkness, a hint of the boy still lingering, yearning to be saved from the depths of his own creation. Choose us, Luca. I screamed into the maelstrom, the weight of my belief shattering the cacophony, but just as light sparked within his gaze, the spectre recoiled, casting her shadow more dominantly than before. Foolishness! She screeched, the depths of her rage echoing through the intense tide, and then with horrifying finality, a realization struck me deeper than the thrust of despair. The choice before Luca was also the choice before us. Would we bear the heartache of his past, embracing the burden that could shatter us? The darkness swirled, a scream carrying a truth wrapped in anguish, as Elora turned, tears reflecting our collective fear. We must hold on, yet as I stood, trembling under the weight of my own heart, I suddenly saw the echoes of our lives crashing together, hinging on a truth that had yet to reveal itself. Before I could voice the thought, before I could solidify the gamble, it happened. Luca's figure twisted as if breaking apart, shadows lunging hungry for the light. And then, like glass shattering against bare skin, the world erupted into chaos, blinding and terrifying. My mind wrestled with the breath of another choice, colliding into the fabric of what lay ahead. Luca. Choose. I screamed, terror clawing at my throat, and in the masculine embodiment of that struggle, my own heart quake at the illumination weighty in the dark as together, we faced the abyss of sacrifice knowing full well that this battle might claim us all. The world was a swirl of chaos, a cacophony of emotions tumbling through the maelstrom, fear, love, desperation, and hope twisted into a single terrible reality, and I felt myself teetering on the edge of all it could consume. Luca's choice lingered, suspended in the air, and my heart pounded like a war drum, echoing the tumult within my chest. Luca. The anguish in my voice shattered through the tumult, reaching for him like a lifeline. We're here. Please, don't let the darkness take you. The shadows rose encroaching, reflecting my own fears. What if he couldn't hear us? What if we lost him forever in this dark abyss? Elira's grip on my hand tightened, her resolve igniting a flicker of belief within me. We have to hold on, she urged, pulling me closer to the heart of the storm, our interconnectedness radiating with warmth against the encroaching chill. He's worth fighting for. We just need to push through this. But as we pressed forward, something within shifted. An innate understanding washed over me, rippling through the chaos. This wasn't just about snatching Luca from the shadows, it was about understanding the depths of the shadows that colored his past. Every sacrifice, every turning point, and each imperfection was a part of him, cradled within his essence. Just as I clung to that thought, I caught a glimpse of the ethereal woman, now writhing like smoke shifting in the wind. You foolish children, you still believe love can conquer all. Love does not drown out pain. It amplifies it. Her voice dripped with malice, drawing haunting echoes around us. Yet beneath her words, I felt a tremor of fear, a fragment of doubt curling around my heart, threatening to shadow the warm belief we held. Had we truly not grasped the full weight of Luca's burdens? What did he hide within those depths? Then, from the chaos, something emerged. Just like echoes of laughter and conversation spun through the air. I could almost hear them, translucent past memories of laughter shared between friends, long-lost fragments of light weaving through his darkness. They flickered like fleeting fireflies, guiding me towards understanding. Elira seemed aware of it too, her eyes lighting up as she took a deep breath. Remember our favorite day, Luca? She called into the tempest, her voice strong and unwavering. The day we climbed the old oak tree. You told us we could see the world from up high. We believed in the adventure, and you were the brave one who led us forward. A fleeting pause hung in the air, the shadows hesitated, as if caught in the sweetness of that reminiscence. Could it be? Could the warmth of friendship and cherished memories act as a beacon through this cold night? The malign woman hissed, raking her claws through the echoing memories. Those moments mean nothing. The darkness thrives in those who dare to believe they matter. You will lose yourselves trying to save someone who has already chosen despair. Yet I couldn't relent. Luca! I cried out, desperation mingling with sheer determination. We are not abandoning you to despair. Every moment we shared matters. You are not alone. We are here, ready to catch you, no matter what it takes. But even as the words fled from my lips, I sensed the tremor of deep-seated sorrow wrapping tightly around the fabric of our belief. That woman was right in one regard. Burdened hearts would sink under the weight of undeniable truth. My heart constricted painfully, knowing we were standing on the precipice, teetering between the brilliance of love and the paralyzing ache of sacrifice. As I strained to catch a glimpse of him, the twisted figure of Luca emerged through the shadows. His face was a turmoil of conflict, confusion twisting its way through a myriad of emotions. I could see him fighting, battling the very fabric of himself, and with every flicker of his hesitation, pieces of my heart broke open. His eyes darted between us, between joy and sorrow. I can't. The cry was raw, a desperate plea emerging from the depths of his own demons. I don't know how to let go of the pain. I can't face it. I can't. Then let us help you. Elira metaphorically reached out with her spirit glowing fiercely beside me. We will take on the burdens with you. You don't have to face it alone. Your past is not the end. You can choose a new path. We will be here through every step. But as much as it empowered us, the shadows began to creep closer, tightening their hold. The woman laughed, an ominous melody lacing through the darkness. Will you risk your lives for someone who fears light? Can you sacrifice everything for a heart so devoted to shadows? I glanced at Elora, our gazes entwined in a silent conversation, drifting through uncertainty and resolve. Our unity was the anchor, the sliver of hope amidst despair. It was a bond forged in trials, and we had to believe in that against all odds. Luca. I screamed again, urgency pouring from my lips. We choose love, we choose life. Your past does not define who you are. Let us be your strength. But just then, as if mocking the bond we held, the shadows lunged a wave of darkness crashing down, enveloping not just us but threatening to devour everything we were holding on to. The specter reached deep into the hearts of all three of us, an echo of our fears resonating through our souls, and suddenly, I realized a chilling truth, a revelation unspooled in the maw of chaos. A voice deeper than the shadows whispered within, "What if something from your past lurks too? What if we cannot save him without a sacrifice of our own?" Before I could voice my fear, I felt a gut-wrenching pain rip through me, a flicker of vision from my past, memories haunting beneath layers of forgotten hurt. The past, just as painful, twisted in the shadows, and I shuddered. Together, it's our past and future at stake. I breathed, unsure where the next wave might take us. Would we lose ourselves in the attempt to save him? In that pivotal moment, just as Lucas' resolve illuminated our promise, the darkness roared, a ground-shaking reminder of the stakes that lay in the balance. And then, everything shifted. The shadows recoiled, a scream splitting the air. Within that tumult, the realization sparked a deeply buried truth. Luca wasn't just fighting his demons, we all had to confront our own before we could hoist his hand. As we stood at the convergence of love and inevitable loss. As the darkness clung fiercely, an emotional precipice waited me, heartbeat synchronized with the tumult of my thoughts. The echoes of choices crushed down upon us, as shadows danced wickedly and the ghostly specter loomed overhead, mockingly waiting to seal our fates in the unforgiving shadow. Together, I whispered with the last remnants of resolve. We will face this together. And as the maelstrom threatened to consume us, I felt a shudder beneath my feet, a step towards a truth far more daunting than mere shadows, shifting within the fabric of our intertwined realities. What would unfold next might change everything in ways we could never anticipate, as we teetered on the brink of a dangerous decision that could unravel the foundations of our souls. The cacophony twisted and swirled, a manifestation of the turmoil surrounding us as we stood on the edge of the abyss, caught between hope and despair. In that moment, as the shadows loomed larger, a sliver of my focus shifted. I could sense more than our anguish drowning the air. The pulse of an unsung melody resonated just beneath the surface. It was as if the fabric of our world vibrated with the echoes of stories untold. "Listen," I murmured, my voice barely piercing the chaos, "there's something deeper." The shadows hissed, reacting to my awareness as if the very act of acknowledging the unseen was a challenge. Elora turned to me, her brow furrowed as the shadows screeched defiantly, their chilling wails cutting through our reality. "What do you hear?" Her voice trembled, yet a flicker of curiosity ignited in her eyes. Whispers curled around us like smoke, threading together our histories, intertwining heartbeats and forgotten sorrows. "Memories," I breathed, "not only of our friendship but of past lives we lived and lost, off each choice that brought us here. They're not buried, they're alive." The shadows hesitated, a palpable tremor hesitating in their malicious grip. I felt a shimmer of resilience surge within me, the remnants of hope weaving through moments of pain that had long been hidden. I closed my eyes, allowing the tapestry of recollections to wash over me, each thread a moment shared, echoes of laughter mingled with tears, and in that vulnerability lay the strength we needed. "Luca!" I cried out, my voice bursting forth like a wildfire igniting the dry brush of despair. "Your past is part of who you are, but it doesn't have to ensnare you. Remember the first time we made s'mores? You couldn't decide whether to toast the marshmallows or dive right into the chocolate. You brought us all joy in that night." The kaleidoscope of memories ignited his face, a flicker of recognition breaking through the turmoil painted upon him. His eyes, once darting with indecision, softened as he recalled the warmth of laughter shared beneath the stars, a moment that felt like home. Suddenly, the shadows convulsed, trailing away, as if reluctant to face the reality of our bond. "Stop this foolishness!" the ethereal woman shrieked, her voice frayed with anger. You will shatter as one with too many echoes of joy. The light only serves to torment the soul shadowed by despair. For an instant, I caught a glimpse of uncertainty flicker across her features, a fleeting hesitation as if shaken by our resolve. Luca, I pressed, my heart a drumbeat in my chest, you are worthy of the light. Don't let her lies seep into your soul. In that crucible of emotions, a memory flooded to the forefront of my mind, a time when I had felt lost and alone, when the weight of expectations had almost crushed me. Even in that darkness, a kind soul had held my hand, reminding me that vulnerability wasn't weakness, but strength. Do you remember the first time we stood together against the world? I continued, urging Luca to grasp the flickering light within. We faced bullies at the schoolyard, and Yumi, brave warrior, stood tall, fierce in the face of hatred. You reminded us of our strength when we were too weak to carry on. You taught us to laugh in the face of adversity. His eyes widened, the fiery resolve burning within now flaring into existence. The shadows quivered, sensing a resurgence of hope rising in us, and with it, the depths of human emotions becoming too much for them to contain. Please, Luca. Elora added. Connect with every part of yourself, the joys, the pain, everything that makes you whole. We are here, and we won't let the darkness separate us. As if answered by the universe, the silhouette of our collective memories erupted, swirling around us, each laughter and tear emitted like luminescent sparks. The shadows hissed angrily, wilting back momentarily, their grasp loosening as our strength grew intertwined. But then, we felt it, an intangible tether pulling at the core of our beings. The shadows roared, a voice trembling with emotion and disdain. What if, my dear children? You're not just fighting for him. What if the shadows are just the beginning? Have you prepared to face your own truths? That question struck with a ferocity that made my heart splinter. My past tugged at me with an urgency I hadn't felt in years. The moments I'd buried deeply had begun to surface. Faces I thought were lost flickered in and then out of my consciousness, demonizing choices, moments I wished to cast away. Would confronting these memories sacrifice the resilience I'd built? And then, an image crystallized in front of me, a shining warrior, adorned in the garb of an Apache, who had once crossed paths with my path, igniting a sense of purpose in me that I had dared to forget. Was he still there, guarding the truth of who I must become amidst the chaos? Might he need me as much as I needed him? Shocked, I turned to Elora, our minds synchronizing in a dance of realization, the threads of our fates wound tighter as we faced an impending truth. What if? She whispered, breathless with fear and revelation. With the taste of bitterness on my lips, I took a deep breath. What if the shadows seek not to conquer our love but to teach us that within every bond lies a breaking point? Just then, a deeper chill enveloped our souls, and I sensed the shadows, their collective eyes glaring upon us, now fueled by our inner turmoil. Their intent crystallized, twisted in their laughter, teasing the potential fallout of each memory we dared to navigate. That I may have to confront my past, I murmured, the weight of that truth pressing against my chest. Will it cost me everything? Before we could unravel that thought, a hand brushed against my skin, a fleeting sensation that surged warmth. I turned, facing Luca as he reached out with trembling fingers, each movement carrying a weight far more significant than words could express. I am so scared, he whispered, anguish playing in the depths of his eyes. But I choose to fight. Together. And with that, our hands connected, forming an unbreakable link against the wielding shadows. But as the shadows trembled, something else shifted in the distancia. A gaping void opened within the darkness, revealing a sliver of light, a haunting truth lingering just beyond reach. What could it mean? The more I tried to focus, the wider the void yawned, until I understood, this wasn't just about luck. It tugged at the very foundation of who I was, who we all were. Each flicker promised shadows of our past that could obliterate not just our present but the very future we hoped to build. And with that realization came the harshest of blows, a rending cry of truth that echoed louder than any whispered promise. In saving him, would we lose ourselves forever? As the void threatened to consume us, I couldn't help but wonder if the key to salvation lay in sacrifice, and if so, who would pay the price? The maelstrom roared around us, and I held on tightly as we tumbled toward an uncharted reality, each heartbeat resonating with profound uncertainty. an impending reckoning we were distanced from yet deeply intertwined in. The questions lingered, the darkness thickened, and I felt the ground beneath us tremble as the shadows slithered closer, stealthily preparing to exact their due, testing our frightened souls in this desperate dance of survival. The darkness wrapped around us like a suffocating shroud, yet beneath its veil I could feel a flicker of possibility igniting once more. I struggled to hold on to that light, submerged in a storm of conflicting emotions. My heart thundered in my chest, resonating in tune with the chaos around us as I grappled with the weight of choices yet to come. "Luca!" I cried, desperation clawing at my throat, echoing my plea into the void that separated us. "I believe in you." In that moment, amidst the swirling tempest of shadows, an unthinkable thing happened. Luca turned his eyes toward me, the kaleidoscope of emotions surrendering for a heartbeat to something deeper in understanding. I saw the boy I had cherished emerge amid the chaos, the laughter we once shared reigniting something buried deep within him. The ethereal woman's laughter echoed around us, stark against the fragile silence. "What makes you think love can conquer this darkness? When it comes to choosing between love and survival, will you still uphold it?" She taunted, her presence tightening ominously around us. But in that moment, the unease shifted. I felt Elira's grip on my hand, steady yet interlaced with fear. "It's our truth that will carry us through," she whispered through clenched teeth, forcing a smile. The solidarity between us felt like a blaze against the shadows, and I knew we had to fight for all we loved. "Together!" I shouted, our hearts straining in sync, pulling Luca further into our shared resolve. "We will not let the darkness define us. Stand with me." He hesitated, waves of uncertainty flickering in his eyes. But then, something clicked in his expression, a glimmer of hope that reached past the whirlpool of despair, cutting through the murky veil. I need you," he murmured, words trembling in the air like a fragile thread. "Help me." "Always," I replied, pushing through the remnants of doubt. "You are never alone." The shadows recoiled ever so slightly, sensing our unwavering conviction coalescing into a singular force. In that small space of clarity, piece by piece, the past began to unfold before us, stories of laughter and tears, every moment stitched together in a fabric of undeniable resilience. "Remember our dreams, Luca," I called, grounding us in memories held dear. "When we told stories beneath the stars." The shadows persisted, hissing warnings that twisted the edges of light. "You are fools to believe these memories are strength. They will be your undoing." But I refused to falter. I bore witness to the essence of who we were, who Luca could still be. "We are not just dreams, we are stories waiting to unfold. Our past is not a chain, it's our armor." I rallied the words, my voice bold and unwavering. "You are worthy of this love, of our fight." Luca's gaze sharpened, embers of courage igniting in the depths of his soul. I watched as memories began complicating the shadows, the spirits attached to each fragment heretofore lost working towards a singular goal, the light binding all those who dared to remember. "Fight with us, Luca!" Elira cried, eyes glistening with liquid starlight. "The past was born from choices, but it doesn't define the path we take. Your spirit is tied to so much more." He took a step forward, his shadow fighting against the swell. "But I've hurt so many." His voice trembled, jagged with emotion. "How can I face them? Can darkness become light? Can I truly change?" "Yes." I shouted back, flare rising within me, fanning the flamed resolve. "Embrace the light of who you are, the kindness you've shown, the laughter we've shared. It will reignite the courage that seeks to escape." And in that moment, I saw clarity. No longer were we entangled in the shrouded past, the pain attached to it unraveling like smoke in the air. The light poured through the cracks, enveloping us with warmth. "We choose you. Choose us." My heart surged as I felt the proximity of each blessed thread, a kaleidoscope of existence, rich with the unyielding acceptance and love we bore each other. Elira nodded, her eyes shining fiercely, and together, we diverted our focus solely upon him. "We will face The inevitability of sacrifice, but not alone. The dance between shadows and light turned into a war cry, coalescing into a force tremendous and unyielding. Luca took a breath, aligning himself with the arc of our existence as he stepped further into the warmth radiating from us. A pulse raced through the air, and it felt as if every heartbeat counted, echoing the rallying cry of hope itself. Then, a spark flickered in the dark. For the first time, I felt the shadows flinch. They recoiled as our vibrant luminescence intensified. "You found your home among the darkness." The ethereal woman shrieked, her malice dissipating. Something was shifting, a dynamic dance I almost couldn't comprehend. In that moment, a sob erupted from Luca, profound release of grief, anger, and pain. "I am so sorry for all I've done," he cried, clenching his fists. And suddenly, the floodgates opened. Memories rushed forth, of choices, of sorrow, of moments forged in the crucible of pain. We stood shoulder to shoulder, a fierce blue flame igniting within him, eager to break free once and for all. "Luca!" I shouted, stepping closer, my heart a metronome of gratitude. "You can rise from this too. Your strength is in our togetherness. Choose love." Elora added, her spirit radiant beside me. "Choose life. And let us embrace what comes next." My voice joined theirs, intertwining with the very essence of our fight. "You matter. We will accept whatever it takes." And then, beneath the frightening intentions of the shadows, Luca nodded, sealing the bond of our hearts, igniting a beacon that would blaze resolutely into the storm. "I choose you. I choose love. I will rise." The shadows screeched, fury clawing at their very core as they fought against the light we bore. Luca stood with strength, defiance radiating from him, and together we pressed forward, hearts intertwined like dancers defying the very weight of despair. Together. We cried in unison, a powerful weapon against what sought to tear us asunder. Just then, an explosion of light sliced through the darkness, something beautiful and overwhelming. It resonated through the very core of my being, wrapping us in a cocoon of luminescence so brilliant that the shadows shrieked in anguish. Everything around us was transformed, our pasts fused with new beginnings, illuminating paths we could never have foreseen. And as I held on tight to the unity we forged, the cacophony of shadows dissipated. Hope poured from the depths of our entwined souls like a river unleashed from its damming, washing away the remnants of darkness. When the light finally settled, I found myself standing with Luca, his hand clasping mine, warmth radiating between us, defiance shimmering in his eyes as we stood amidst the wreckage of darkness with hearts entwined. "I won't let go again," he promised, voice imbued with quiet strength. In that moment, as he looked at me with courage emblazoned on his features, I saw echoes of possibility. The same years we shaped together flowed in our veins, forever bonded by both history and the promise of what lay ahead. Elora stood resolute at our side, an unbreakable pact forged between us, and the light danced through the space we occupied. The path ahead was unknown, yet I knew we would walk it together, embracing every choice, every fear, and every flicker of joy. And as I breathed in the air, filled with release and kinship, I felt eternity unfurl before us, a life we would shape anew. To new beginnings, I whispered. To love over fear. With you all the way, Luca vowed beside me, our spirits entwined like the colors of a sunset. Then, uniting one last time, we turned to face the horizon, ready to navigate the journey, knowing every step forward would be brightened by the love we fought to protect. As I turned, I realized the journey we embarked upon had stitched our souls together, and in the vast expanse of the unknown path that lay ahead, all we truly needed was the choice to step into the light. And with that final thought, I smiled, embracing the unyielding truth that echoed back to me, kind of love that knows no bounds, forever illuminating the way.